지금부터 안녕하세요. 북한
Hello,
북해학교
everyone.
바로 알기 사회
Now
연속
we will start the second lecture of the series of Knowing North Korea, North Korean nuclear program, and North Korean economy correctly.
안녕하세요. 반갑습니다. 저는 진행을
Hello, everyone again.
우리의 청년
My name is Ji Gasil, chairperson of the Youth Committee
소중한 시간을 내어서
in Seattle.
방송에 참여해 주신 모든 분들
I would
환영하고
like to thank
감사합니다.
everyone
북한은 기술한
who
대화를
participates in
이름과 실명으로
this
불러주시고
webinar.
컴퓨터 화면에 하단에
Would you
직구 버튼을
please
찾아서 영어로
rename yourself with English name and your region? And if you want English translation, you can choose your language. We are providing simultaneous interpretation. And we also operate a Telegram study group.
지금부터 저희가 행사를
So now we will start the second lecture.
북한 경제 바로 알기 그 2강인 북의 국방과학기술의
For the
현주소
second lecture,
수준 점검 강연을 시작합니다. 통역
we
안내
will discuss the present status of defense science and technology of the PRK. The order of the event is that we will first have the salute to the national flag, and we will hear welcoming remarks, and then hear the lecture from Dr. Jose Kang.
오늘은 화상 행사인 관계로 편의에
Now,
따라 서거나 앉으셔서
we will do the
먼저 국기에 대한 경례를 하겠습니다. 모니터에 나오는 태극기를 향하여 경례해 주십시오.
salute to the flag. Please salute to the national flag.
국기에 대하여 경례.
나는 자랑스러운 태극기 앞에 자유롭고 정의로운 대한민국의 무궁한 영광을 위하여 충성을 다할 것을 굳게 다짐합니다.
바로
다음은 애국가를 제청하겠습니다.
Next, we will sing together the national anthem.
나라를 위해 희생하신 모든 분들을 기억하고 추모하는 시간을 갖겠습니다.
Now we will pay tribute to those who sacrificed themselves for the country in silence.
국민의례가 끝나고 다음은 시애틀 협의회 그 19기 김성훈 회장님을
Next, we will hear
환영사 및 인사
welcoming
말을
remarks from
전해드리겠습니다.
Chairperson
회장님,
Kim Sung-hoon.
말씀해 주세요.
The
안녕하십니까.
floor is yours now. Hello, everyone. My name is Kim Sung-hoon, Chairperson of the Seattle chapter of Newark.
환영합니다.
I would like to welcome everyone who joined this second lecture. As we already explained, today we are going to learn more about present status of defense science and technology of DPRK, because we are providing this webinar virtually. It also enables everyone across the world to join this webinar. I'm sorry that I cannot mention everyone who is contributing to this lecture, but I have great expectations for this webinar, and I hope this will contribute to the peaceful unification of the Korean Peninsula, and I hope everyone can learn something from this webinar. Thank you, Dr. Kang.
네, 회장님 말씀 감사합니다. 이번
Thank you
행사를
for your
진행하시는
remarks.
무심양면으로 지원을 아끼지 않으신 시애틀 협의회 회장님과
He
사무국장님
provided full support in preparing this webinar, and I would like to also thank the Secretary General of the Seattle chapter.
그러면 이제 마이크를 옮겨서 우리 강호재
Now
박사님.
the floor is yours, Dr. Kang.
네, 반갑습니다.
Hello,
강호재입니다.
everyone. My name is Ho Jae-kang. I'm so happy to see so many of you attending this lecture. Today, we will go even deeper into this subject. Maybe it would be more difficult scientific technology terms,
드릴 테니까 한번
but
들어보시고요.
I would guide you through this difficult subject, and I also expect active discussion after my lecture. I'm going to share my screen.
저번에는 이제 총론적인
last lecture, I provided some overview of North Korea's nuclear status, how we can understand the current status of North Korea's nuclear programs, and I also explained the secrets of 2008. I think that was the last chance that we lost to solve these nuclear issues. I hope the Biden administration does not remain at the status quo. Because South Korea kept saying that we don't want a war, we want peaceful unification, and I think that prevented the United States from taking more hostile policy toward North Korea. For this second lecture, I'm going to go deeper in the subject. I think most of them are familiar with this issue, and I think I know many of the participants today.
내용에서
But
과학술적 얘기들이
for those people who don't know me, I'm going to reintroduce myself because I think it is very important for you to have confidence in my lecture to show that I have academic background in science and history. So I think I am at least capable of knowing the truth and false. So I would like to just say that you can trust what I am what I have to say about this scientific aspect of this issue.
연구를 하고 뭐 리서치를 하는 수준이 아니기
From-
때문에 정확한 포인트만
because
그래서 제가 가이드를 해드린 거고요.
not
그리고
all individuals can have a professional knowledge or research capability in this issue. So it would be enough to have a few correct information. And I think I am one of the very few scholars majoring in scientific history of North Korea. I was the first doctor in this major, and there is one another person who majored in this subject, and no more people are studying this issue.
주장은 많이 안
Those
퍼져 있기 때문에 낯설 따름입니다.
Contents that I have to provide are not familiar with many of you because these issues are not widely discussed among the public. And I had difficulties in finding job in South Korea, and that's why I had to move to Germany. I think I am the only one who research only North Korean issues and teaches only North Korean issues. And so majoring in North Korea and teaching North Korean subject is very few right now. But the Free Institute, Free University of Berlin is very active in providing this program, studying North Korea. And I wrote this book as my doctoral thesis. I wrote my thesis about the formation history of North Korea's science and technology. With my lecturer's position at the Free University of Berlin, I'm planning to complete the full series of this book. And I also published one essay collection book about understanding North Korea through its science and technology. This book is no more available in the market. But if there are enough interest in this book, maybe I can republish it later. And you can see the contents of the book, and most of these contents you can find from my blog. So the reason why I show this same content again and again is because it is very important to prepare our future together. Science, technology, and future are very common across the world, but the connection between science and technology and future is directly connected to the unification issue in the Korean Peninsula. And if you see this picture, you see that the four pillars are correlated, but then there is a gap between scientific technology and North Korea. So I think it is very important to connect these dots. And I think that is my life mission. It doesn't give me enough money, but I think that's my life mission. Just because there are not many people who do this kind of work. And that is why I am trying to provide as many public lectures as possible so that we can tightly connect the four pillars to realize peaceful unification on the Korean Peninsula. So the contents of today's lecture is, first, we will see the history of nuclear, and next, we will see
간단하고 핵심을 파고들어야 되지만 곁다리로 빠지는 논리들이
how to mislead or fraud the people in the nuclear information. I understand that there are many people who are so frustrated by this misinformation. So I want to help those people gain correct understanding of this issue. And for missiles, I will go deeper because it was not discussed in the last lecture. The history of missiles is history of mechanics and machines. It also, missile technology has also duality. It can be used for civilian use and also for military use. So it depends upon us how to use this technology. You can kill people with this technology, but you can also save people with the same technology. North Korea publicized its technology by launching a satellite and conducting missile tests. This timeline of space vehicle missile test launching is very important because whenever there was a new missile test conducted, there were opportunities to have negotiations. I use the term demonstration or presentation because that is the intention of North Korea to demonstrate how advanced its technology is. And of course, there are mechanisms and devices to deceive the public. Unfortunately, since 2015, North Korea revealed a lot of information about its missile technology to public. So, because there was a lot of information available, so it was more difficult to deceive the public. And right now, there is no more people who deny that North Korea has the capability of launching its missiles to a high range. So I'm going to discuss more about its missile technology. And in order to prevent ourselves from disguised with this misinformation, we have to understand the logics of, like, for example, the Zennon's paradox, illusion, and tunnel vision. There is a saying that in order to win over your fight, you have to get closer to your enemy. The closer to your enemy, you can win over. It is the same with North Korean issue. With the sanctions and with further isolation of North Korea, you become even far from solving the problems. So by closing the gap between the parties, you can prevent world crisis. And what's the reason why we cannot be close together with North Korea.
중국, 핵가진 미국, 핵가진 러시아하고는
Underlying this
잘 살고 있어요. 그리고 핵가진
misconcept
중국과 미국,
is that
또 역시나
only a few countries can have nuclear power.
핵을 가졌지만
Now China has nuclear power and the United States has nuclear power and North Korea has nuclear power.
저만 그런 얘기하는 게 아니라
But I think it is possible to have a friendship with North Korea even after recognizing its nuclear power. There are other scholars who agree with these allegations. Like for example, Dr. Hacker from the United States say that it makes no sense to fight North Korea with nuclear just because North Korea has nuclear capability. Now I will see the brief history of a nuclear program in North Korea. During the Japanese colonial ruling, Japan hindered
조선에 있던 사람들은 과학 기술을 배우는
Korean
기술도
people from learning
그런 사람이
scientific technologies.
물리학에서는
However, strangely enough, but in physics, there were a lot of theoretical physics study conducted because for theory, you can study with only pencils and papers. You don't need any sophisticated laboratory facilities to study theoretical physics. And those people who studied theoretical physics, many of them actually crossed border to North Korea. A representative figure is Dr. Sang-nok Do. He made a great achievement in science, and his children were also scientists. So,
해방 직후 경성 제국
so Dr. Do Sang-nok, he is the founding father of North Korea's nuclear program.
건설하려다가 미군정하고 충돌을 하면서
He graduated from Gyeongsang University
그래서 이제 친구
Physics department, and due to the restrictions by the United States military regime,
물리학계는 구성이 됐는데 이 사람의 전공이
he fled to North Korea and he led the initial nuclear program development in North Korea. Later, Mr. Seo Sang-guk, who graduated from university in early 1960, he studied abroad in the Soviet Union. According to some stories about him, the Soviet Union wanted to keep him in the Soviet Union because the Soviet Union did not want to losing him. However, he returned to North Korea and
지나가는 농부가 자기들 얘기를 듣고 뭐라 얘기해. 그래서 그 친구들이 나중에 조사를 해보니 그 사람이 한국이라는 사람이었다. 그래서 이렇게
in North Korea after coming back from the Soviet Union because he wanted to live in hide. And then later, other people found out he was hiding himself in a country. He was again revealed into the area of North Korea's nuclear program. However, I could not find any further information about his later days. And then from 1955 to 1956, there was nuclear physics lab created inside the Physics and Math Research Institute at the Science Academy. And in 1956, there was a joint institute of nuclear technology created by the Soviet Union. North Korea was one of the founding members. With the support from this joint institute, in 1959, North Korea made an experimental reactor, and it also created Betatron. So the very initial prototype model of reactors were first created in 1959. Regarding duality of nuclear, it means it can be used both for civilian use and military use. No one can stop peaceful use of nuclear materials. However, for military use, international treaty can stop the usage. But for peaceful use, no one can stop it. You understand why people cannot live in the Fukushima area even many years have passed since the explosion. It is because of this radioactive isotope. There are 3 types of radioactive isotopes. And you see this graph. The explosion or rejection of radioactive isotope follows the fixed interval. So that's why you can see how old this material is by reviewing the amount of its initial time and the final status. This radiation can also used for peaceful uses, such as like medical treatment. It can cure cancers, and it can also modify plants and animals. Radiation can penetrate. This like a microwave can penetrate even lead, which is the hardest to penetrate. And the most dangerous radioactive isotope is gamma ray. And if you are exposed to gamma ray, it can be destroyed very quickly. Even a robot can be destroyed in a short period of time. And you have to remember this theory that E equals mc squared. It means that the mass equals energy. There
There
was a very huge discovery. So basic understanding, basic principle of this energy generation is that by reducing the mass, you can transform that energy into heat.
질량이 조금 없어지면서
And
어마어마한 에너지를 내.
the same technology can be used for weapons. If you make this reaction very rapid, then if it reacts rapidly enough to create a massive explosion, then it can be used as a weapon. And there is another kind of nuclear bomb, as EMP bomb, which has no radiation fallout. It's just like a microwave you use. I wonder if any of you put a coil in a microwave, and if you turn on the microwave, you will see the spark coming from this microwave
칩, 아주 작은
crash.
전류에 의해서 작동하는 반도체 칩은 다 타버리겠죠.
And so it means that if you turn on a huge microwave in the air, then it will destroy, like it will break down, burn down all electric devices. That's the principle of EMP bomb. I think EMP bomb is one of the most useful nuclear bombs because it doesn't have a radiation fallout. So radiation materials will disperse in the atmosphere, and only the energy you can use. And these days, North Korea is talking about strategical weapons. Well, there is no clear distinction between strategical weapons and tactical weapons. There is only one difference: the power of destruction. So when it comes to tactical weapons, it means that you are miniaturizing the weapons with a smaller impact, but still it is nuclear bomb. And North Korea keeps saying that it is not going to use any nuclear bombs on the Korean Peninsula because it is the land where we have to live for generations. Then where to use these nuclear bombs? When a foreign army attacks North Korea. So there are different types of nuclear bombs. For nuclear fission, it means that when you break down a material, then it reduces the mass and it creates huge energy. You have to reach critical mass in order to have this breakdown. You have to go beyond critical mass to have this explosive power. It means lower than the critical mass, you would not have this explosive reaction from nuclear materials. That's why you make silos between the materials. That's how you can control the explosive speed. And if you go beyond this critical mass, you can have a bomb. For centrifuge, you can concentrate or enrich uranium by using centrifuges. And reactors are used to create plutonium because you cannot gain plutonium naturally, but you have to burn uranium to have plutonium. So if you hear something about centrifuges, you can say that it's all about uranium bomb. And if you hear a reactor, then it refers to a plutonium bomb. So from this picture, you can see that there is this uranium. It shows that like 2, 3, 5, 92. That refers to the mass. So it means like a bigger number. You can say that it is heavier. And you put 1 neutron, it becomes 2, and then later it breaks it down into 4, so it's like geometrically increases. So if you cut down this chain, then you can reduce or stop the chain reaction. So you can use different methods to control this chain reaction.
그래서 발전소의 종류는 기본적으로 중성자를 어떻게 제어하느냐에 따라 달라집니다.
So the types of nuclear power plant is determined by what methods you use to control neutrons. Next. So I explained about centrifuges, and for plutonium, you have to burn uranium. With the centrifuge, you can enrich uranium to like 20% concentration, then you can use it to generate energy. And if it is more than 90% enrichment, it can be used as a weapon. And when you put deuterium or tritium, then it can transform into helium. During the process, it creates huge, enormous energy. And in order to combine this deuterium and tritium, you have to create a plasma status, which means ultra high temperature. In order to create this ultra high temperature to enable this fusion, you have to use nuclear fission. So you create energy first through nuclear fission, and with that energy, you combine or fusion deuterium and tritium. So when you hear North Korea developed a hydrogen bomb, we have to interpret the news saying that North Korea developed both nuclear fission and nuclear fusion bombs. Because in order to have a hydrogen bomb, you have to first do nuclear fission. And you have to have repeated reflection or repeated nuclear fusion in order to have a hydrogen bomb.
1%, 2% 수준이라고 들었습니다. 근데 얘들은
I heard that only 1 to 2% of nuclear materials are enough to make a hydrogen bomb, because by reflecting themselves repeatedly, you can have enormous energy. with this small amount of nuclear materials. That's why a hydrogen bomb is more dangerous. So this picture shows the process of fusion. So I'm going to next explain what devices are used to give misinformation about North Korea's nuclear information. You hear a lot about seismic magnitude scales. It is determined by Richter scale. And actually the number or the scale is not important at all, because once it is a nuclear bomb or a hydrogen bomb, it is just like enormous explosive power. Whether it is the Richter 1 or Richter 2, Richter 3, it doesn't make any difference here. So even explosive power does not make the change. It's because we cannot be sure of explosive power correctly, because you can assume that there was an experiment, there was a test where this test was conducted, but it is impossible to assume or estimate the explosive power, because this estimation should be based on so many hypers and assumptions. It cannot be correct. And also, there are so many variations. They can change or affect the numbers depending on the nature of the land or the hardness of the land, which is used as a conduit to transfer the earthquake. The number can be varied so significantly, so it is impossible to correctly estimate the explosive power from these numbers. What is more important is that whether it is artificial seismic impact or it is natural earthquake. And also it is important to know whether it is possible to control the whole process. So whether a country has control power in every stage of the process is very important, and we can say that North Korea is capable to control the whole process. And maybe by comparing different numbers measured at different places, by comparing these measures, maybe you can designate where the test was conducted. But that's all we can say from these measurements.
이게 이제 지진파입니다.
So this shows artificial seismic wave. Natural earthquake shows kind of like smooth line, but artificial seismic wave shows these rapid changes. And by comparing these measures, we can predict where the test place was. Except that, we can just disregard every other assumptions or conclusions from these numbers. almost nobody knew whether it was a nuclear test before North Korea announced that it conducted nuclear test. So it means that no intelligence helped the world to understand North Korea's nuclear capability. North Korea officially announced it tested 6 times. That's the official number. No one knows whether North Korea conducted more than 6 times of nuclear tests.
김대중 정부와 노무현 정부 때 막 그 공격을 했던, 특히 김대중 정부 때 공격을 했던.
So during the Kim Dae-jung administration, North Korea conducted a few tests to artificially make an explosion.
장기적인 계획이 있었다라는 건데 그 계획을 잘 보니까 3년.
It is doubtful whether intelligence knew about this test during that time. Anyway, North Korea has conducted its nuclear test almost every 3 years.
쭉 가다가
So until the fourth nuclear test, it conducted like every 3 years, and then it escalated at the interval of its nuclear test. And then later, North Korea announced that it conducted a hydrogen bomb test. It was first revealed in 2016. The fact that North Korea conducted a hydrogen bomb test in January 2016, it means that North Korea already completed its nuclear fission bomb test. And maybe now North Korea has the capability of creating EMP bombs. North Korea also has the capability of subcritical experiments. It means that
너무 커졌을 때 감당하기 힘들 때는
immediately before chain reaction, you can destroy or eliminate neutrons. Then there is no explosion taking place. So no one can know from outside whether there was a nuclear test or not. And it means that if with this capability, you don't have to conduct actual nuclear test because you can stop right before the explosion. In order to do this type of experiments, you have to have a supercomputer. And the fact that North Korea conducted this subcritical experiment means that North Korea has a supercomputer. So it shows that North Korea is capable of nuclear tests comparable to those countries of the United Nations Security Council member states. And North Korea also conducted a unitary management system. So it shows that North Korea completed its nuclear power. And last time, I explained about the secrets of 2008. At that time, North Korea announced that it had the capability of nuclear materials extracted like 39 kilograms. That was the maximum of extraction. And North Korea also said that it used only 2 kilograms to make a nuclear warhead. So that was the minimum usage. And that means that North Korea has maximum remained nuclear materials. This graph shows an estimate organized by international NGO in 1995. It was the numbers organized in 1995, and we already 25 years passed since the report came out. So we can see that there is even more advancement in its nuclear program. And in order to have a warhead, you have to first reprocess the spent fuel. And it is reported that North Korea has 90 to 120 kilograms of plutonium extracted already, and it used only 2 kilograms to make one warhead. It means the number of warheads possessed by North Korea could be either 45 to 60 units or 90 to 120 units by how many plutoniums it used to make one warhead. In terms of highly enriched uranium, the maximum number of warheads it created from highly enriched uranium could be 208 units.
결론이 더 웃깁니다. 이 정도로 가져
These numbers are not correctly understood or accepted by international scholars. North Korea actually developed its nuclear power in order to protect itself, defend itself from the United States nuclear power, nuclear threat. So it is ridiculous to say that we have to be afraid of North Korea's nuclear threat and we have to equip ourselves with a nuclear threat in order to prevent North Korea's nuclear threat. It's just a vicious cycle here. More importantly, North Korea also has a laser method in enriching uranium. It takes only 4 days to make 20 kilograms of highly enriched uranium by using a laser method. And the methods of verification, I don't understand how we can verify, because if something is lower than critical mass, no one from outside can verify whether there is enriched uranium or not. You may have heard of radiocarbon dating method because it takes fixed time to half-life of a material. So you can estimate the age of a material by measuring the initial amount and the final amount of a material. But the problem is that North Korea has repeatedly conducted tests or activities in the same place over and over. So it is almost impossible to read past history here. So I understand how it can be created, but I don't know further sophisticated methods. But anyway, that just shows that it is almost impossible to verify North Korea's nuclear capability through this kind of methods. Anyway, I'm going to explain now about history of mechanics and missile technology. There was almost no legacy of Japanese empire in terms of the machines industry. And that is why North Korea put a lot of efforts in preserving its machines. If you see wartime records or videos from wartime, like you can see many scenes that people hiding machines, like burying machines in the ground or carrying machines. It is because once machines were destroyed, there was no way to repair them. And that's why North Korea concentrated its efforts and time to develop its machine tools. In 1959, there was a campaign called Machine Tools Breeding Campaign. Because North Korea had fewer machine tools, it was very difficult to mass produce machines and parts. That's why North Korea tried to first create more machine tools to have quantitative growth in machine tools. So it's just like breeding machine tools. And in 1985, the second machine tool breeding campaign was conducted. For the first campaign, many people criticized that it is so low quality, so it was meaningless. But through 1985, the second campaign, North Korea achieved its qualitative growth, and it even made it possible like enlargement, automation, and robotization. And it also has the capability of CNC and unmanned machine production system. And in 1995, Kim Jong-il made a visit to CNC facility, and it is named as Leonha machines. After the Soviet Union and the socialist bloc collapsed, this technology was integrated into the missile technology because super precision machines were required to make missiles. About the origins of North Korea's missile technology, there are three theories. First, after the Cuba Missile Crisis in 1962, North Korea realized that it could not depend on the protection provided by the Soviet Union. So North Korea decided to independently develop its missile technology. In the wake of the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis, the second theory is that North Korea received Scud missiles as a reward of its providing support to the Middle East conflicts in the 1970s. And based on this initial import of Scud missiles, North Korea developed its own missile technologies. The third theory is that after the collapse of the Soviet Union in the 1990s, scientists and engineers from the Soviet Union took refuge in North Korea, and from them, North Korea learned its missile technology. But I don't have any document supporting this theory. So regarding super precision machinery, North Korea is capable of this .1 micro jet engine technology, and it also has fuel technology, which is small in size, safer, and has
그걸 견디는 물질을
a huge driving power. And also, North Korea is capable of creating warhead.
GPS 이런 걸 못 쓸 건데 어떻게 원격으로
In
빠르게
North
움직이는 물질을
Korea
찾을 거냐. 이것도 들어가 있습니다. 이 모든 게 민수로 전환되면 전부 다
has the capability of
더 중요한 건
telecommunication engineering, like remote control of rapidly moving objects.
외부 통제 아니고
And
선순환해서 지형
at the same time, a missile should make a judgment rapidly
앨런 머스크 때문에 며칠 전에
according to the changing environment. And now turn to space industry. People say that like, we are entering into the world of new space era. According to the NASA information, North Korea is pursuing this kind of technology. And you see that the market size of the space industry can be like $300 trillion in 2016. And CNC, I'm going to further discuss this issue in my next lecture.
무기도 만들지만 이것들은 고부가가치가
CNC can also create highly added value industries as well as weapons development. So next lecture would be focused on CNC technology. So I'm going to skip that issue today, and let's see more about timeline of space vehicles test launching. In 1993, it launched a missile range of more than 1,000 kilometers. After that, in 1994, there was a great framework signed. So immediately after North Korea's missile launch test, the United States agreed to negotiate and sign the agreement, maybe for the fear of North Korea's missile technology. And in 1998, North Korea launched its Eunhwa-1 satellite. After that, the United States and North Korea signed a joint communique. During the Clinton administration,
커뮤니케를 했죠. 그 다음에 올바이트 국무부
Cho Myung-nok, the Vice Defense Minister of North Korea, visited President Clinton at the Oval Office in 1999, and Mr. Cho Myung-nok was wearing his military uniform. And in 2006, North Korea made test launch of Taepodong 2nd. And that's when the United States gave up its civic policy and changed its policy into CC. And then in 2009, 2012, North Korea repeatedly launched its missile test, but the United States was not able to react. And that's why it was not able to stop North Korea's replicate missile test. So this graph shows that there is increasing threats, military threats, and there was no way to stop this threat. And I'm going to explain more about devices to deceive the public regarding the missile information. The first device is questioning the range. In 1998, North Korea launched a satellite, and this satellite made a few circles of the Earth. It means that it has had enough range by showing that it could circle its satellite over the Earth. And next question is about high angle issue. With higher angle, it is more difficult to have safe re-entry into the atmosphere. So it is ridiculous to say that a higher angle launch is easier. It is so ridiculous. The fact that North Korea launched its missile at a higher angle means that North Korea tested its capability in the extreme condition. And regarding the engine power, it means that North Korea was capable of controlling the mass of the warhead, including the amount of fuel necessary to launch the missile. And in order to have safe re-entry into the atmosphere, there should be enough technology to protect the warhead from destruction. It needs sophisticated remote control technology, and also had to maintain its inner temperature to 25 to 45 degrees. So I don't think North Korea has announced as the most advanced weapons. And another misinformation about North Korea's weapons production system is that, like, many people say that there is only single organization producing weapons, but it is not true. There are at least two organizations, including the military military or engineering ministry and Defense Science Academy. So I think there are more than 5 agencies or organizations commissioned to develop weapons in North Korea. So I wrote a column refuting those allegations that there's only one organization producing weapons in North Korea. And after my column was revealed, there is like no more such allegations. So I think I contributed to that somewhat. And let's see some pictures. This picture shows an engine. You test this engine on the land, and this one was taken picture in 2016. So you see this warhead you have to test whether this warhead can be safely protected after being exposed to ultra high temperature. And after launching Hwasong-12, North Korea announced that it was able to communicate with the warhead after re-entry into the atmosphere. So it shows that the warhead was protected from ultra high temperature. And regarding the angle of re-entry to the atmosphere, you have to cut down the energy, like outer energy, from penetrating into the inner space. If it is too low, the angle, then it will be bounced back to out. And if it is too high angle, then it will be breakdown. It will be broken down and it will be burned down. So if you integrate this re-entry technology into an ICBM, then it means you can control the target range of an ICBM. And if you see this picture, you see that there is like empty space between the launcher and the missile. And very small pillars, like tiny pillars, are supporting this launcher. And you see that there is a space between those pillars. So it has only like 8 pillars supporting this missile. And then immediately before launching the missile, the truck, the launcher just leave the site. It means that with this tiny equipment, tiny device, it can resist the impact of launching a missile. It means that like, this material is ultra hard, so that like, with only 4 to 5 pillars, you can support this heavy missile. So that is surprising. And this picture shows that these missiles were launched with the launcher remaining on the site. It is dangerous to have the launcher remaining in the gravity of the missile. It is because there should be enough support power to prevent this missile from shaking away. And then later, North Korea did not maintain this launcher in the vicinity of the missile. It means that North Korea was capable of maintaining the impact without the launcher. And this one is SLBM. Under the surface, there is a submarine. And all SLBM should be launched at a diagonal angle, because if it fails, then it would fall down to the submarine and destroy the submarine. That's why usually the SLBM launch is conducted at a diagonal angle. But then North Korea conducted its SLBM test with vertical angle. That was so amazing. And you see these pictures showing that it has repeated explosion to have the drive being power.
보세요. 풍 올라가죠?
So you
저기서
see
팍
this
터지는데 미사일이 흐트러지질 않아요.
spike the fire, but it does not change the angle or direction of the missile.
흐트러지지 않는 게 보이죠?
It maintains its posture, its direction. That is amazing.
방금 그 장면에서 미사일이
From that scene, we can see that a missile can maintain its posture stable. There are only 5 countries who can do that, and North Korea is one of them.
네, 그다음 기술들이 이렇게 쭉 나오고요. 저거는 우리한테 쏜다고 막 그때 난리가 났는데
This one, people said that like North Korea is preparing this missile to attack South Korea, but no, it would not use this kind of weapons against South Korea.
그리고 뭐 6개 이 바퀴 축을 잘
And next, if you see the wheels, the axis,
6개, 7개, 8개 넘어갈 때 이게 7개부터
So,
ICBM이라고 북에서 얘기를
after
8개도 그 정도
7 wheels, 7 axis, North Korea calls it as ICBM, and no one questions the technology. And this one was revealed in 2017. The warhead looks taller than Kim Jong-un. And
동시에 발사됩니다.
the most
드론도 어렵다고 하는데 드론보다 더 크고 무거운
surprising thing is that North Korea was capable of flying 4 missiles in parallel. So it maintained its finite, sophisticated control of 4 missiles at the same time, simultaneously. It was so amazing, so surprising. That's why whenever North Korea does conduct any missile test, Hawaii is on alert. And so you can see different pictures of missile test. And you see the different shapes of fire generated from the engine. So the different shape shows that it has different methods of making and running the engine. And now you see this 8-axis launcher, and North Korea also launched a missile with range of about 15,000 kilometers.
고도의 3배다, 4배다라는 거는 물리적으로 아직 계산이 그렇게 되어 있지는 않습니다.
It is not possible, like not available to estimate or calculate the relations between the axis, the number of axes and the angles and the ranges. But you see this Hwasong 16, it has 11 axes. But you don't have some. It is said that this can fly more than 12,000 kilometers. And you see this Pukguksong 3, and that's the history record, history of the video archive. And you see that Kim Jong-un was thinner, so it shows that it was like a few years before. And then even then, North Korea had Pukguksong 3. And it is said that North Korea has Pukguksong 4 and 5 types. The conclusion is that combined all this information together, we can see that North Korea made success in developing its nuclear power. But then why we think North Korea failed its nuclear power? It's because of Zenon's paradox. So this shows that when Hercules reached the point where a turtle was, during the time a turtle moved forward even a little bit. So if we repeat this process over and over, then there is no way for Hercules to catch up the turtle. So, but the problem is that you can divide infinitely, but the final number or the added up number of infinite intervals can be finite number because time is finite when added up. So even though it seemed that North Korea was not able to have a nuclear power, like it repeatedly failed infinitely even, but still when added up these infinite intervals, infinite failures, North Korea could have succeeded at the end. So the process of completion of a nuclear force, it started from nothing, and there was a possibility. There were activities showing that North Korea maybe had possibility for nuclear force, and then those activities stopped. And later, North Korea showed experiments, and then later tests, and now it already completed its nuclear force. When you see only part of this entire graph, you don't understand, you don't see the whole picture, but you have to see the whole picture that by repeating the process of activities, doing nothing, activities, doing nothing, and now North Korea is in the state of nuclear power. That's the conclusion. North Korea does not need any recognition by other countries. North Korea, in fact, is a nuclear state. It independently developed all the technologies, all the skills to control the entire process of missile and nuclear power. And as I explained before, just because North Korea has certain military power, can we overcome North Korea, like fight over North Korea with the same military force? When it comes to nuclear power, it is not possible to win over a nuclear state with nuclear weapons. So if you are too much concentrated only on denuclearization or the weapons, you cannot create peace. We are losing the space or opportunities to create peace simply because we are too much overwhelmed by the discussion about weapons. Even the existence of weapons, we have to increase the level of entanglement among different parties so that any act of one party can have a significant impact to other parties. so that every party should be eager to prevent a war. North Korea has nothing to lose right now without no entanglement involved in the relationship. And the United States would have the same argument. So that's why we have to increase the entanglement level between the parties so that we can prevent a war.
수고 많으셨습니다.
Thank you.
박사님, 우리 모두 강호재 박사님 열강에 박수 한번 크게
Thank you. Let's give him big hands.
그리고 이렇게 함께 들어주시고 계신 모든 참가자
And I would like to also appreciate all of the attendees.
너무 수고 많으셨습니다. 강호재 박사님 이 텔레그램
Thank you so much for your participation and thank you so much for your lecture, Dr. Kang.
통역하시는 분도 너무나 수고 많으셨습니다.
And
어려운 과학 얘기와
thank you for the interpretation because I speak
강은지 선생님
fast and it is all about difficult scientific matters. And next, we will have free question and answers.
하죠. 예.
네.
So let's stop here my lecture. And now we will go into free question and answer, free discussion. If you have any questions, please
채팅창에 질문이 있는데요. 그 질문을
freely ask questions.
지금
And we also have some questions on the chatting.
그 마이클 윤 선생님, 자문위원님, 안녕하세요. 예,
One
한번
of the council advisors has question. Would you please unmute to yourself and ask the question? Hi, my name is Michael Moon.
그러니까 아마 여기 어떤 분들도 그럴 거예요. 그 북한을
Many of
보면
your lectures are really like unbelievable. Many people think North Korea is kind of like a mafia, international mafia.
지금 박사님 말씀하신 것처럼 이 북한의 과학기술력이라는 게 정말
As you explained,
말씀하신 것처럼 실제로 저게 진짜 신뢰가 이렇게 그러니까 지금 저 정도 기술력이면은
it seems that North Korea has advanced technology comparable to advanced countries. But you say that like, it is really
질문하시는 부분이 이렇게 무기 시험을 한 게
possible? Like it is,
사실이냐를 물어보는
so
거예요.
are you asking that North Korea actually conducted such tests, or I mean,
미사일을 실제로 막 쏘아 올렸을 때 얘네가
I doubt whether North Korea can really target precisely.
지금 오늘 제가 얘기 드린 게 된다는 얘기였는데 선생님이 지금 충격을 받으셔서 그런 건가요?
I explained that North Korea is capable of. So were you surprised of knowing that? Yes. So
시험까지 가서 이미
I'm saying that like North Korea went beyond the possibility, experiments, tests, and now North Korea has the capability. So everybody saw that.
조작이다 뭐 이런 얘기를 아무도 안 합니다.
So no one doubts or no one questions the.
10%만 나와도 4,500km까지 하면은 시애틀 좀먼 앞바다죠. 근데 수직으로 올라가는 게 그 정도면 수평으로는 그보다 더 멀리 나가는 건 당연한 겁니다.
근데
지금 만 킬로가 넘어간다는 거는
North Korea conducted this test successfully. As I understand, missile technology is very advanced technology. If North Korea is capable of having this missile technology, it means that North Korea has advanced science and technology level. Yes, that's correct.
제 박사학위 논문이
North Korea was
과정인데 52년에 생깁니다.
even
전쟁
earlier
통일의 과학원을 만들어요.
음.
네.
in
그러면
그리고
현재
북한이
creating its
북한이 스스로 자동차를 만든 게 58년이고요.
예,
엔진까지
Academy of
만든
Science
게 50,
and
60년쯤에 되면 컴퓨터 만듭니다.
그러면 진짜 우리가
and developed
북한을 좀 약간 이게 좀 뭐랄까 좀
many
그렇게
advanced
생각하는
machines
현실적으로는
before South Korea. Like North Korea was able to make
실질적으로 북한의 과학력이 우리보다 앞선 부분도
a motor for
네.
a car
또 하나,
early in
예.
the 1960s.
제가 알기로는 이제 그 미사일을 이제 핵미사일을 쏜다는 게 그러니까 한두 개 정도 갖고 있는 거는 이제 뭐 거의 무게 효용 그러니까 실전에서 쓸 수 있는 게 아니라
According to my understanding,
여러 개가 있어서 아무 곳에서 하고 동시에
there
발사가 돼야지
should be
실질적인 무기를
multiple
획득하는
missiles
가치가 있다고 제가
which can be
알고
launched
있는데 그 정도의
from
이
different
가량이
places
있다고 보는 게 맞는 건가요?
for different targets at the same time.
핵무기를 하나만 있는 건 의미가 없다는 거는
That's
하나 이상 가졌을 거라고 했을 때 나온 역조작
only then
하나만 있어도 기본적으로
the country can be
세계적으로 가지고 있기
said
때문에 핵무기는 정밀한 무기가 아닙니다. 그냥
of
간단하게
having the weapons
던져도
system.
반경 몇십 킬로 정도는 다 날아가 버리기 때문에 예.
When it comes to a nuclear weapon,
던지면 되는 거예요.
그렇죠, 그렇죠, 그렇죠.
그래서
you
하나만
don't
갖다
need precise control.
또 미국은 반절 이상 날아갈
Even one hydrogen bomb can destroy the half of the Earth.
하나는 중요하지 않아. 디플로이 되려면
So even one hydrogen bomb is enough to say that North Korea is capable of
아니, 제가
백이고,
무식해서 그러는
nuclear
건데,
force.
영화를 너무 많이 봐서 그런지 몰라도
And then
만약에 이제 막한 두어
when
번
North Korea
가지고
demonstrated
그렇게
that
하면
it has at least one hydrogen bomb, people said like, oh no, you need like more than 100 bombs to say that you are capable of a nuclear force, but that's ridiculous. As I explained, while North Korea conducted more than 6 times of nuclear tests, until North Korea announced that it conducted its tests, nobody knew that. That's why, I mean, like, so no one knows where North Korea maintains its nuclear weapons and how many nuclear warheads it has. So like it's just like a cockroach. If you see one cockroach at your home, it means that there can be hundreds and thousands of cockroaches living in your house. So there was a compromise made among the parties in 2009 that, like, let's say North Korea was capable of this amount of activities, this level of activities. And that was the compromise made in 2009.
유튜브 참고하시면 됩니다.
네.
그다음 오용섭 선생님 질문해 주세요.
Next,
예, 박사님
Mr. Oh Young-sop. Hello, it's great to see you.
세종입니다. 세종.
I am connecting from Sejong, South Korea.
네.
Thank you for your lecture. So now I think everyone understands that North Korea has a nuclear force, but why now North Korean people are suffering
당연히
from
삼중고로
hunger,
해가지고 아주
like
그저 삶이
economic difficulties. Everybody knows that. So North Korea may have to use its nuclear power as a bargaining card to improve its economic situations. What do you think? No, I don't think that is a possibility.
팔 가능성은 이미 2000년에 했다가 끝났고
don't
2009년에
think
했다가
there is a possibility that North Korea will trade its nuclear weapons with others.
45년에 만든 그 맨해튼 프로젝트의 예산은 나와 있습니다.
And
그
we have no information about the budget of making a nuclear bomb. The only available information is how much the United States has spent to create 2 nuclear atomic bombs in 1945 under the Manhattan Project, and the majority of the budget was spent on building the facilities. And we already know that North Korea has this Yongbyon facility.
하겠다고 했고요. 그 방법 말고 다른 방법이 있습니다. 핵 미사일 기술을
And North Korea already promised that
다음 주에 들어오시면 들으실 수 있을 겁니다.
알겠습니까? 뭐 자력
they
경쟁을
would not do anything with the Yongbyon facility. So another way to solve this issue is that encouraging North Korea to use its nuclear capability, its nuclear power for peaceful use. And that would be the main topic of my third lecture.
또 되고요. 지금 어떤 의미로 먹고 살기 힘든데라고 하는지는 모르겠지만 북한의
I'm
작년
not sure
공세 이후에
what you mean by saying that North Korea has difficulties in self-reliance.
그래서 북한이 어렵지만
There are conflicting information coming from North Korea that North Korea is regaining its economic stability. So I think it is far from the worst collapse. Thank you so much for your lecture. It was very helpful. And I again realized that I didn't know North Korea.
저도 좀 호기심이
So
많아서
I am so curious about everything. During the Second World War,
그 원자폭탄이 실제로 숨겨져 있었던 티니안 섬을 제가 여러 번 다녀왔습니다. 그리고 언젠가는 일본에 있을 때인데
because of my curiosity about the atomic bombs during the Second World War, I even made a few visits to the places where it was said these atomic bombs were hidden.
그때도 들었습니다.
And
무슨 웃자고 좀
are you in Japan now?
우리가 너무 북을 모르는 큰 원인들이
think one of the reasons why we don't know about North Korea very much is because of those people who try to maintain the status quo, the division and subject to the United States and Japan. I am saying that the territory of the Republic of Korea contains
제가 위축됩니다.
the Korean Peninsula and its islands. So I am so regretful that I had no chance to visit North Korea.
다음은 앵커리지 자문위원님 질문해 주세요.
Next, Mr. Kim Yong-han from Anchorage.
언뮤트 하시고 하시면 됩니다.
Please unmute yourself.
예, 반갑습니다. 지난달에도 뵙고.
Hello, everyone.
아니,
I was
이번에
here last
보니까
month.
저도 과학적으로 하다 보니까 이제 방사능이라든지
어떤 전공이신? 어떤 전공이신가요?
아, 저는 그 기후 변화 쪽으로 하고 있어요, 알래스카.
I
예. 그런데 이제 제가 학사,
working
석사 때 이제 전공이 다르다 보니까 방사능
in
쪽으로 계속 해봤거든요.
the climate change
내추럴 뉴클라이드
field,
쪽으로 해가지고 저는 과학적인
and
연구를 해봤는데
I
상당히
also
의미도
studied
있고
the science at
말씀의 주제는 조금 전에 이 앞에
university.
분 말씀하신 거는 대포동 일본의 대포동 쐈을 때 미군 기지가 그 미사와 기지에서 그걸 봐가지고 일본이
And
난리 난 거로 저는 알고 있거든요.
I understand
예,
that
예, 예.
in
그,
1998,
예,
when
예,
Daepodong
그래서
missile was
제가
launched,
말씀드리고자 하는 거는 그동안에 저희들이
it was observed
정밀
from
타격이라든지
the
그거를 무시했지만은
US
사실은 북한에서
base in
이렇게까지
Japan,
정확도가
and
있고
that shocked the
고기술
United States.
하이테크를 가지고 슈퍼컴퓨터까지 계산해
And
가지고
you explained
이렇게 하겠다는 것은 사실은 저는 믿어왔지 않았는데 해외에 계시는 강 교수님이 이거를 발표하실 때 나름 두렵기도 하고 놀랍기도 합니다. 그래서 사실은 지금 문재인 대통령이나 바이든 정부에서도 비핵화를 주장하고 있지 않습니까? 지금까지. 근데
I
지금
just think
결론하고는 반대 개념이거든요.
the
왜 지금 정부는
Biden
문재인 정부가
administration is
비핵화에
trying to
목숨을 걸고
denuclearize North
있는지
Korea.
그래야만
I
하는지
wonder whether the
그거를
Moon
제가
government is
파악을
also
못하겠어요.
저도 모르겠습니다.
trying
왜냐하면 이렇게
to
사실로 나아가 있는데 똑같이
denuclearize North
이야기하자면
Korea.
너가 창을 갖고 대포를
I don't
갖고
know.
있으면 나도 가지고 있으면은
And
똑같다는 개념이거든요. 근데
the
지금 말씀을
basic
들어보니까
logic is
북이
that
핵을
if you
가지고
have
있다
a
하더라도 우리가 핵을 가질
nuclear
이유가 없지는 않지
power, then we
않습니까?
have to be
안전을
equipped
위해서라면.
with nuclear
예.
power.
그냥 우리 안전을 위해서
But
핵을 가져야 된다고 생각을 하는 거죠.
예, 예.
it doesn't make sense. North
그
Korea is
사실은
saying that
일본도
for the safety
이
of
북구만
its own
닫으면은 핵을 만들 수
future,
있는
it
기술은 다 갖고
should
있거든요.
have nuclear
예, 예.
power.
그래서 그런 점에서
But I'm
보면은
not sure if
우리가 오히려
you can achieve
핵을
safety
보유하는 게
through
낫지
nuclear power.
않나라는 생각도
I
들고요.
don't know. Like I'm thinking that maybe it will be better for South
그러니까
Korea to have a nuclear
중국에도
power.
얽매이가 있고 일본도 얽매이가 있고
What
미국에도
changes?
얽매이가
What
있고
positive changes
지금
can
살 수 있는 길이
give to you? You think that we are
핵이
subjected to the influence of China?
혹시 주변에 방송이 나오나요?
제가
I hear some
방송은
background.
안 나오는데
죄송하지만 제가 한번 뮤트를 시켜볼게요. 김용원 교수님을 뮤트 시키니까 음성이
뭔가
없어졌어요.
방송이 꼬였습니다. 두 개가 동시에 나오고 있습니다.
아, 예. 그럼
하여튼 뭐
언뮤트를 시켜드리겠습니다.
질문인지는 모르겠는데 핵을 가지는 거하고
I'm not sure if I got the question correctly, but
아무 상관이 없다고 저는 봐요.
I think whether we have nuclear power or not doesn't make any change.
모든 걸 다 가지지 못한다면
Because if you don't have the capability of the entire process, like creating nuclear power and operating nuclear power, if not, we have to import nuclear power, nuclear weapons outside, and it doesn't mean that we actually have a nuclear power, because we cannot afford the nuclear weapons if we don't have the technology. And if we don't have the capability to bear the pressure, North Korea has the capability because it independently developed its nuclear power. So we have to understand the North Korea's nuclear weapons system with the same logics. So people say that the aim of North Korean strategy is that to prevent its nuclear weapons, but what if there is next level of weapons system beyond the nuclear system? Then are you going to say that
전혀
our
안 그렇게
aim is to
원하는 사람이
prevent
없겠죠.
this X
근데
level of weapons system?
후기 핵을 가지고
No, we
있는
have
대신에
to
우리가 해야 될 게
create an
뭐라고
environment
생각하십니까?
where such a weapons system is
우리가 통제할
not
수
necessary.
예.
So in order to control North Korea's nuclear weapons program, the only way is to build cameras to monitor the activities at the nuclear facilities and send inspection investigators to the facilities.
예, 알겠습니다.
네, 더 많은 그 토론은 이렇게 텔레그램에서 충분히 하시면
I hope you can continue your discussion through the Telegram group.
선생님 직접 한번 질문해 주시겠습니까?
So I will go to the next question. Mr. 노기남.
안 계시면 제가 바로 읽어 드리겠습니다. 오늘 강호재
If you are not here with us, I'm going to read his question.
대응 전략은 얽힘이 중요하다고 하셨어요.
You said that it is important to increase entanglement in order to prevent or solve the nuclear issues. Well, I used the term entanglement because I thought that engagement is too weak to be a solution. Because I think we should go beyond the engagement to entanglement. The more exchanges, the less possibility of war breaking out. For example, liaison offices. If we have more liaison offices functioning well, then it will prevent a war from taking place. Some people say that the United States troops stationed in South Korea is kind of like a hostages, making the United States automatically intervening into a war. That's kind of entanglement.
이 정보가 빛보다 더 빠른 속도로 반대쪽으로 전달된다. 이렇게 해서 서로 연결돼서 강력하게
when things are interconnected more closely, then you have to consider the impact of each other's activity that will prevent us from facing a war. Next. My name is Rigu from Seattle. Thank you for your lecture. I'm not sure if I understood your lecture correctly. You explained that North Korea's nuclear program advanced from nuclear fission to nuclear fusion and EMP bombs. So you think the ultimate goal or ultimate level of North Korea's nuclear power is EMP bombs? The reason why I ask this question is that I remember that the Trump administration issued an executive order to prevent EMP bombs, and North Korea could be contained in this executive order. But North Korea never officially announced that it is going to use EMP bombs, but everybody knows that there is
EMP bomb available in a future world. Like every online games that children are playing speak of an EMP bomb because it can nullify electric devices with EMP electric wave. And that is most effective and efficient way to nullify the enemy power. But it requires very sophisticated, precise control. But I think North Korea is capable of EMP bombs. There is no information available supporting this this allegation, but North Korea has a hydrogen bomb. With that level of technology, I think North Korea must have the capability of creating EMP bombs, and EMP bombs are safer because it does not have radiation fallout. And there is no reason for North Korea not to develop EMP bombs if it has the technology. Thank you for your lecture and thank you for the discussions. And this will close the second lecture of the 4 series lectures. Thank you, Dr. Kang, for your lecture, and thank you for the patience and listening of all the participants. The next lecture will be focused on civilian use of nuclear power in North Korea. The webinar will be held on June 5th, the same time. I hope our efforts can contribute to the unification of the Korea. Thank you, everyone.